7 o'clock, call this Goldsboro City Council meeting to order. First thing I'd like to do is invocation. We don't have a visiting pastor, so I'm going to say a prayer. You will stand, please, and we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance afterwards. This is a prayer that we said in church yesterday. It's probably appropriate for this evening. Very good, please. When the storms of life crash around us, O God, be our quiet center. When adversaries gather against us, Holy One, be our refuge and our strength. Give us the confidence of David, that we might place our trust entirely in you. And give us the assurance of the psalmist, that we might know the glory of our salvation. With joyful hearts and ready minds, we pray for your grace this day. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First thing on our agenda is approval of minutes for the minutes of work session.
Roll call.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Ham.
Here.
Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Councilmember Broadway.
Here.
Councilmember Matthews. Present. Councilmember Aycock.
Here.
Okay, we're all here with the exception of Councilman Paul Rock. Now we'll approve the minutes for the work session and regular meeting of June 2nd, 2021, and the minutes of the special meeting of June 10, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
The second.
Second.
All in favor? Raise your hand, please. You got it, Madam Clerk?
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you.
We have no presentations. Next item on the agenda is public hearings for 3 items here, so we'll open the public hearing with item BZ 521, Anita Yusuf.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Your first public hearing tonight is item BZ 521, Anita Yusuf. The property is located on the south side of East Ash Street between Barrow Court and Malloy Street. The applicant's requesting a change of zone for the subject property from residential R16 to office and institutional, O&I 1 for commercial development purposes. The applicant recently acquired the subject property, which is currently zoned for residential use. Surrounding zoning, to the north you have general business, to the south residential R6, to the east neighborhood business, and to the west office and institutional 1. The subject property consists of one unoccupied single-family dwelling of approximately 1,000 square feet. The city's land use plan recommends office and institutional development for the property, which is consistent with the other properties in the area. The subject properties are not located in a special flood hazard area, and city water and sewer utilities are available to serve the property. At this time, there is no action necessary, and the Planning Commission will have a recommendation for Council's meeting on July 12th. And here it's actually the property. This is a street view from Ash Street, and it's the property with the white structure in the middle. Any questions?
Any questions from council?
Just need to open the public hearing. Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak? There'll be no one wishing to speak. We'll continue with the next item on the agenda.
Item C is Z1621 FSC. It's an asphalt plant. The property is located on the north side of West US 70 Highway between Perkins Mill Road and Springwood Drive. The applicant's requesting a change of zone for the subject property from General Business Zoning District to General Industry Conditional Zoning, limiting the use of the property to an asphalt plant. Surrounding zoning to the north, you have general industry I2 and general business. To the south, residential R12, R16, and office and institutional 1. And to the east and west, you have general business. On September the 4th, 2007, Goldsboro City Council approved an ordinance to rezone property located directly north of the subject property from general business and residential R20A to general industry I2. Although the land was not totally compliant with the comprehensive land use plan, the proposal was considered compatible with existing zoning patterns in the area. October 1st of 2007, a request for a conditional use permit was approved by City Council to allow the construction and operation of a concrete plant for the same property. In addition, site and landscape plans were also approved with the following modifications. A modification of a minimum lot frontage requirement from 50 feet to 0 feet, and a modification of the minimum distance requirement from residentially zoned or developed property from 1,000 feet to approximately 925 feet and 0 feet. Lastly, the required street trees and sidewalk installation for that concrete plant was deferred by City Council on June 2nd, 2008. The owner of the subject property was required to install street trees and sidewalks once the subject property was developed or sold in the future. The property is currently vacant. The city's comprehensive land use plan recommends medium-density residential development for the subject property. The applicant has submitted a site-specific plan for the conditional zoning request to limit the use of the property to an asphalt plant. Access to the property, as the site plan indicates, adjacent to US Highway 70 West and is accessed by a private 50-foot wide paved asphalt, ingress, egress, and regress, and utility easement. 3 proposed access drives are shown along the easement, providing an entrance and exit for employees and customers of the site, as well as heavy commercial trucking operations associated with the asphalt production. Since the property has no frontage along US 70 West, a modification will be necessary. Structures proposed and identified for the site consist of an on-site 750 square foot office, a 750 square foot laboratory, above-ground fuel storage tanks, a 600 square foot storage shed, tower silos, hoppers, crushers, bins, and conveyors for aggregate production, distribution, and storage. Parking for the site requires 1 space per employee plus 2 visitors, plus 1 space for each vehicle stored on site. A total of 10 parking spaces has been identified on the site plan to include the appropriate accessible parking spaces. Handicap, that would require 1 handicap space, and it's being shown. With regards to sidewalks, external sidewalks are required for new commercial development. The applicant will be required to install or pay the fee in lieu of $13,158, and that's based on the 730-foot road frontage along Highway 70. A commercial lighting plan has not been submitted since the subject property is located adjacent to residentially zoned and developed properties. The developer will be required to submit a lighting plan in compliance with the city's commercial lighting ordinance. Subject property is located in the city's 1 mile ETJ. City water and sewer are not available to serve the subject property. Water will be provided by Wayne County's Fort Township. Sewer will be provided by an on-site sewage disposal or pump system. City engineering will require approval of stormwater calculation and drainage plans prior to the issuance of any building permits. Street trees have been shown along the western property line where an existing 60-foot private and paved ingress, egress, regress, and utility easement provide access to the plant. A required Type A 10-foot wide landscape buffer is shown along the northern property line, and a Type B 15-foot wide landscape buffer is required along the eastern property line. However, due to 2 existing natural gas utility easements along the eastern property line, the applicant is requesting a modification of the Type A buffer yard requirement. Asphalt manufacturing is classified as a community sensitive use in the general industry I2 zoning district. As such, the city's UDO requires that the entire area of the site shall be enclosed by a 6-foot high opaque fence set back 100 feet from any public right-of-way or residentially developed or zoned property, and or 50 feet from any other adjacent property. The applicant has proposed an 8-foot in height opaque fence surrounding the proposed asphalt plant in accordance with city standards. In addition, the city's UDO requires that the proposed asphalt plant be located at a minimum of 1,000 feet from residentially zoned or developed property. The portion of the property to be used as the asphalt plant is approximately 450 feet from property zoned R12 to the east. The northernmost portion of the property proposed for outdoor aggregate storage is directly adjacent to property zoned R12. A modification of the distance requirement from 1,000 feet to 0 feet will be necessary. And lastly, the applicant will be required to provide a statement with the plans indicating whether any manufacturing or processing operation will create smoke, offensive odor, dust, noise, fumes, or vibrations beyond the lot lines of the proposed use. If one or more of the such conditions exist, the developer shall explain what measures will be taken to mitigate such conditions to acceptable levels. And just to restate the modifications that are being requested, it is a modification of the road frontage along an improved public street of at least 50 feet, modification of the Type A landscape buffer yard along the eastern property line, and lastly, the modification of a distance requirement from residentially zoned or developed property from 1,000 feet to 0 feet. At this time, there are no action necessary. The Planning Commission will have a recommendation for Council's meeting on July 12th. I would like to take a moment to share with you, the applicant did provide us with some drone footage from the Kinley plant that they have. It's a sister plant to Goldsboro, and it pretty much is ideal to what they are proposing at this subject property. So the next 3 slides do have brief snippets it's about a 7-minute video, but we took some snippets from the 7-minute drone video just to show you potential elevations of the property.
Jennifer, what highway was that right in front of it? Do you know? Is
Is
that
that
95?
95? It's 95, yes, sir. And one more. And as you can see, it's 95, and then obviously there's an access road to the site, very similar to Highway 70. And lastly, this is the street elevation of the subject property, and you can see in the far north to the back of that property is the concrete plant that was approved back in 2007. Any questions for staff?
No questions? This is a public hearing for Z621 FSC2 LLC for Asphalt Plant. Anyone wishing to speak for or against, please come forward. Okay, we have no. Could you give the clerk your name,
Yes.
please?
My name is Hayes Finley. I'm here tonight representing the applicant, and I have a binder I'd like to hand out to each of you with some additional information.
Sure. Thank you.
So, thank you again. My name, again, is Hayes Finley. I'm with the law firm of Fox Rothschild and here representing Fred Smith Company, who is submitting this application. I also have tonight with me my colleague, Aaron Catlett, and Brent Wood, the Vice President of Legal Affairs for Fred Smith Company, and Molly Chisholm, a North Carolina certified appraiser, who's here tonight as well, and Dale Warinko, our professional engineer with Withers and Ravenel, who has prepared the site plan. As Ms. Collins has just explained, we're here tonight for a conditional rezoning from general business to general industrial. And with that, we're also seeking a special use permit for the application for the asphalt plant, which is why we've also submitted the detailed site plan. And let's see, I'm sorry. There we go. So this site is located in the ETJ, and it's going to bring jobs, tax revenue, and lower asphalt prices for any infrastructure improvements that will be needed in Goldsboro. The Fred Smith Company currently has 18 asphalt plants in North Carolina, and their largest customer is NCDOT, which means that they have high quality products and services, and they make an effort to support the communities where their plants are located. For example, they have sponsored a golf tournament for the Raleigh Rescue Mission every year, which has become the single biggest charitable event for that organization. And they will likewise be looking for ways to invest in the community of Goldsboro. You all should have received a copy of the letter from Mr. Wood that was sent to the neighbors explaining what asphalt is and what it's all about. If you don't remember that, it's in your notebook on tab 2. But as explained in the letter, asphalt is identified by the Federal Highway Administration and the EPA as the #1 recycled product in the U.S. It's composed of 95% aggregate, which is just crushed stone, gravel, sand, and 5% asphalt cement, which is petroleum products, just nothing more than what you find you use in your car every day. Emissions from asphalts are, including dust and odor, are regulated through air quality permitting. So the federal and state agencies regulate that aspect of it to ensure that asphalt plants do not endanger the public health and safety. These regulations are found under tab 8. This site was selected as an ideal location for the plant because it's located on Highway 70. Asphalt has to be laid hot, and transportation, the further you go, the harder it is to get asphalt there. In the letter, Mr. Wood described it as like pizza delivery. The further you go, the cooler it gets, and asphalt has to be hot to laid. So this is a great location for it. And this first photo is taken along Highway 70. You can see right at the billboard is the marker sort of the beginning of the property, and it goes back. You can see that row of trees there is in buffer really between the residential properties on the other side. So there's already a significant buffer there. This photo is taken in the other direction. You can see the cement plant concrete plant in the back, and the distribution center, the warehouse right there as well, and the shared access drive. And another reason for selecting this site was the stoplight that's located right there. That billboard, again, is the marker of the property. This allows trucks to be able to turn in without disrupting any traffic along 70. So this application, if you turn to tab 4, I have provided here the approval criteria for both the rezoning aspect as well as the special use permit, and some of them overlap. Mostly, this site is compatible with surrounding properties and land uses. There is, as we've mentioned, a concrete plant bordering the back of the property. There's a warehouse distribution center on one side. There's a landscaping business on the other side. And they're zoned general business and general industrial. So they will be compatible with those surrounding uses. It also, as I mentioned, will not endanger the public health, safety, or welfare, because these asphalt plants are regulated at the federal and state level to ensure that they are operated for the public health and safety. And we've also got with us, we have prepared a market impact analysis from our certified appraiser who has come to the conclusion that this use will not substantially injure neighboring property values. And she's here to answer any questions if you want to ask her about that aspect of it. And finally, the use is in harmony with the existing development, mostly because the ordinance provides site-specific criteria, as Ms. Collins mentioned, that addresses what the site needs to include in order to be in harmony with the neighboring properties. And so we have submitted a site impact statement under tab 10 from Mr. Warinka, who's also here tonight answering any questions. And the operation of the plant, according to his statement, should not generate smoke, fumes, offensive odors, or vibrations beyond the property lines, and that any noise or visual sight impairments will be adequately buffered by the landscaping. So this is, again, the site plan, which is also contained in your notebook under tab 9. And here again is the overview of, this is also in the site plan. This is the site. This meets one of the objectives of the ordinance, of the comprehensive plan rather, is to encourage infill development. This is a perfect site where it's underutilized, underused, vacant land, surrounded by business and general industry along Highway 70, and it is a perfect location for this asphalt plant. And as you can see here on the right of the photo, where the residential property is, there is a significant tree line there already buffering, and it's really just that top corner where the property intersects with that residential property. So we have submitted, in addition to the site-specific criteria, which only requires a 6-foot fence, we're offering an 8-foot fence, and there will be trees and landscaping around the property as well. We have already seen the Kinley plant video, but again, this is very similar, so we thought this would give you kind of a good idea of what to expect here. However, the Kinley plant does not have an opaque fence around the property, so we would be having an additional buffering in that respect. So in conclusion, this plant is going to bring jobs, revenue, reduce infrastructure costs to the city of Goldsboro. It's already zoned general industry and general business in the surrounding areas. And the future land use map, although it does designate this area as medium density residential, that would require downzoning the property, and it would involve a property, residential properties sharing a shared drive with the concrete plant, the distribution center. There would be trucks going along there. It might not be ideal for a residential location. There's also not water and sewer, and medium density residential in your future land use plan is encouraged in areas that already have water and sewer. So with that in mind, we do think this is consistent with the future land use plan because of the already developed areas around there. There are adequate regulations to protect the public health and safety. And Fred Smith Company is a very reputable, great company. They're great neighbors. They're great employers. And they have a commitment to high quality and being a good neighbor. And everything you need to know about this project is in this notebook. I just encourage you to look through this. If you have any questions, let me know. And I'd love to have Mr. Wood come up and tell you a little bit more about Fred Smith and answer any questions. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer.
I have a question. This photo is oriented north, is that correct?
Yes.
So the modification of the landscape buffer yard would be east of where there's that.
Right,
building
that
is.
kind of hooked portion of the site,
Yeah,
that is where the request is, because there's a utility easement that kind of traces along that property line. But in terms of the residential property there, there's already that significant tree buffer. Yeah.
that's
Okay.
the western view, the western side of the photograph. That's where the residential area is.
That's the eastern side.
That's why I asked if it's oriented north, that would be west.
Oh, I'm sorry. North is up
Okay.
on the site.
Very good.
I have a question. Does the size of this plant compare to the Barnhill plant in Kinston?
That is my understanding. I'm not sure how many silos Barnhill has in Kinston. But we have plans for 2 or 3 silos that we put in. Dale, do you remember that? I know it's at least 2 silos that we would plan to put there, so it would be similar. They may have 4 silos, but otherwise, the silos would be about the size of this room going straight up. That would really be the only significant difference. So they all have scales, they all have a lab, they all have a bag house, and it's all pretty similar in that regard. So it's not, would not be a significant difference at all.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, if we could have you just state your name for the clerk.
I'm sorry, I'm
It's okay.
Brent Wood. I'm a vice president with Fred Smith Company. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, again, I'm Brent Wood. I've been with this company for 15, 16 years. We own more asphalt plants in North Carolina than anybody else. We stretch from Kitty Hawk to almost Greensboro. We employ close to 1,200 employees. We really wish we were at 1,300, but we're not there yet. We need them to do the work, and we look forward to being a neighbor here in Goldsboro and trying to enhance your community and provide good service and opportunities of employment for a wide variety of skilled laborers. So I'm available to answer any questions that you might have about what we do. As Finley said, our biggest customer is the North Carolina Department of Transportation, but we work for counties, we work for cities, we work for private developers as well, doing everything from large-scale site development to doing sites for like the warehouse that would be next door to us. We would do that as well, but we also lay asphalt and we sell asphalt. So we look forward to being part of the community if you'll give us that opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
How many employees do you anticipate that?
Initially, we probably have close to 18 to 20. Essentially, we would look at having an asphalt crew, which is about 12 people, and then you'd have 6 or 7 people who would run the plant itself. Over time, the plan would be to do more site work in this area, which would include road widening, and that would be grading crews. So it could be 40 or 50 employees as we try to expand. Asphalt plants, we're kind of working in little concentric circles, and the ability to have an asphalt plant in this area then expands our ability to do more work in this area, in Wayne County and the surrounding counties.
So your employees are not just to operate the plant. As I understand it, you would actually be providing
Site work. We do site work as well, and we're working on I-95 right now. We do large 500 home developments for, and we will do large shopping centers, and we do pretty much everything horizontal to the ground. We do it. We may not do it directly. We also, from an employee point of view, you're also talking about hiring subcontractors, people to put in pipe, the whole 9 yards. I was just referring to our employees is what we look forward to.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Does anyone else like to speak on this issue? Give the clerk your name, sir.
Good evening, Trey Taylor. I'm an attorney here in town with the law firm Warren, Carl, Walston, Taylor, and Smith. I represent the property owner, which is 70 West Commercial Park LLC. Now, that's a local company involving Dylan Wooten, Bill Lane, and the Jeffries family. So longtime residents of Goldsboro and Wayne County. We think that this project here is compatible as has been presented. In fact, we think it's the highest and best use for this property. First thing anybody's going to worry about when you mention a concrete plant is emissions. And of course, they're heavily regulated by federal and state government, as has been said. And they've got 18 of these other plants. So plenty of other communities have these plants, and if problems were being generated, we'd know it by now. So we think they do a very good job from the investigation that we've done and what we've seen with these other plants, that they do a very good job protecting the neighbors and being a benefit, not a burden to the surrounding community. Increase the tax base, provide employment, spur economic activity, lower the cost for highway projects and paving private properties and public roads. Here, there's not going to be any trees. There'll be no clear cutting of this property. It's pretty well cleared. So we think this is an ideal industrial development for this kind of property. And so we believe it'll be a big benefit to the city of Goldsboro and Wayne County. And so the property owners support it, and we would encourage you to do so as well. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else would like to speak? Please come forward. Anyone else? There being no one else to speak, we'll move to the next item. Z821 MLFL Incorporation Tiny Home Village. Hold up just a second, John.
Okay.
You're clear now.
Thank you.
Item D is Z821 MLFL Incorporated, and it's a tiny home village. The property is located on the south side of South Slocum Street between Westbrook Road and Seymour Drive. The applicant requests a change of zone for the subject property from general business, residential manufactured non-conforming, and general industry I2 zoning district to plan unit development conditional zoning, limiting the use of the property to a 40-unit tiny home village. Plan unit developments are considered a separate zoning district and require rezoning approval. These mixed-use developments provide a voluntary alternative development procedure for relatively large tracts of land held under unified ownership that are planned and developed in a coordinated manner. Surrounding zoning: to the north, you have general business; to the south, general industry I2; to the east, general business and general industry I2; and to the west, general business, residential manufactured non-conforming, and general industry I2. On February the 6th, 2012, the Goldsboro City Council concurred with the recommendation of the Planning Commission and adopted an order approving a conditional use permit to allow the operation of a privately owned cemetery upon the subject property. In addition, the council approved site and landscape plans detailing the operation with a modification of the requirement for vehicle surface area landscaping. Now the owner has decided to cease development of the property for a cemetery and repurpose the property for residential development purposes, focusing upon the chronically homeless and unsheltered residents of the city of Goldsboro. The property is occupied by 3 metal buildings formerly proposed as covered pavilions for employees and customers of the private cemetery operation. The remaining portion of the property is clear and vacant. The city's comprehensive land use plan recommends commercial and industrial development for the property. The applicant has submitted a concept plan for the plan unit conditional zoning request to limit the use of the property to a tiny home village. The applicant has requested a waiver of the detailed site plan requirement at this time. If the zoning is approved, a North Carolina registered engineer is required to design the site plan in accordance with the city's Unified Development Ordinance and subject to city council approval. The proposed tiny home village will serve as transitional housing for use by individuals suffering from chronic homelessness throughout the city of Goldsboro. Approximately 40 1, 2, and 3-bedroom tiny homes are proposed for the site. Each home will be built to the North Carolina Building Code with an average of 900 square feet of floor space per unit. Amenities proposed for the village include an on-site 24/7 security, on-site facilities for medical services, mental health and substance abuse treatment, education, job training and placement services, exercise and fitness equipment, housing for pets, and walking trails for use by residents of the village. The concept plan indicates the property fronts along South Slocum Street and Westbrook Road. 2 existing curb cuts provide ingress and egress to Slocum Street and Westbrook Road. A 30-foot wide access drive is proposed as the main entrance off Slocum Street. Another 30-foot wide access drive off of Westbrook Road will provide additional access to the site. City water and sewer are available to serve the subject property. A portion of the property is located within the special flood hazard area known as the city's 100 and 500 floodplain. City engineering requirements pertaining to the floodplain, stormwater calculations, and drainage shall be approved by staff prior to issuance of any development permits. The subject property is within the 6570 noise overlay zone for Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. Base officials have been contacted regarding the proposed development, and once a response is received from the base officials, the applicant will be notified of any compliance issues in need of resolve before development can commence in the future. The homes would be required to meet a noise attenuation measure once we receive that information from the base. At this time, there is no action necessary. The Planning Commission will have a recommendation for council at your July 12th meeting. This is a street view of the existing property. This is looking straight on. This is looking north on Slocum Street. And this is south as you head to the back gate of the base, Slocum Gate. Any questions for staff?
Anyone have questions of Jennifer? Okay, thank you, Jennifer. This is a public hearing for Z821 LFLN Inc. Anyone wishing to speak for or against, please come forward. Sir, if you have to clerk your name, please.
Good evening. My name is Thomas Rice. I'm the executive director of MLFL. How y'all doing?
Good, how are you?
As it says, we are proposing to put this gated homeless village down here on the property. It will consist of, to start with, 40 homes built. We will have some homes that will have 1 bedroom, some homes that will be built so we can house families. We will have different things such as mental health, to work with the mental health and work with the training and the healthcare to try to get them situated. We will train each individual that is able-bodied individual to get them set in a sufficient manner so they can take and hopefully go on their own and go out. And we are making arrangements. We'll make arrangements where we can put them in permanent housing, where they'll have their own place and everything. We understand that as it is spoken of in the annual plan, that the homeless thing brings on there's a lot of dealing with homeless people. But we are prepared to do this. We have made necessary connections with different organizations, groups, and entities to give them this treatment, to be able to supply them with what they need and their needs and stuff. And I was checking on some things, and I understand as to the status and everything of this area, where we are have a poverty rate of 25.9%, and the state average is 14%. And I also know that
I read it. Property is defined as a monetary resource, the lack of monetary resources necessary to meet the basic needs, such as food, clothing, and shelter. We have veterans sleeping on the street. We have mothers sleeping in the cars or in hotels with kids. And things of this order brings on mental blocks in these kids' head. So by doing this and with doing this, we as a group in the city can help enhance the city along with enhancing the lives of the others. Wilmington has started one in just named Eden Village. And me and my wife, we went down there and looked at it and everything. They have a model set down there now. And theirs is set right in the housing subdivision, in public housing. And they're across the street from the airport. So I feel certain, and I ask that y'all help us so we all can collaborate together and do this, and that we can also fix up that area down there, bring some stability to it, bring some enhancement to it, along with helping the lives of our displaced people. I think this is a real good thing. It's sort of a gutsy move, but I mean, when you trying to do God's will and help His people, you don't think about being gutsy. You just think about helping your fellow man. Because I like to see people live the same way I do. I don't see no harm coming to nobody, and especially a child or older person. So we can work with these people and do this and everything. So I'm asking this city council here to approve this action for us and allow us to go ahead and do this. Like down there at Eden Garden, they said that their slogan is that Wilmington's gonna be a city where nobody sleeps outside. Well, I'm not looking at it that way, but I say this, I'm trying to help Goldsboro become a city where everybody has a roof over their head and can live like the rest of us. So I thank y'all.
Hold on, Mr. Ross. Does anyone have a question for Mr. Ross?
Any y'all got a question for me?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing for Z821 MLFL Inc., Tiny Homes Village. If you would like to speak for or against, please come forward. Please give the clerk your name now.
Hello, my name is Tamila Wiggins, and I'm from Greenville, North.
First name?
Excuse me?
First name?
Tamila Wiggins, and I am from Greenville, North Carolina, and I am the owner and founder of Our Sons and Daughters, which is a nonprofit organization in Greenville, North Carolina. We support Miracle Loves for Life. We support their mission and what they're doing, and we have even talked to our mayor about this, and we are proposing to have the same thing in our city. But with everything, we have to come before the board and we have to go through permits and everything. But I would like to paint a picture for you guys because I love to paint pictures. So we were in a meeting June the 18th with the housing authorities in Wayne County. We sat with Ms. Otis and Ms. Wiggins to talk about housing and the issue of homelessness. We understand that we had a lottery for vouchers to house homeless people, but Wayne County did not get the vouchers because it only said that we had 8 homeless families in Wayne County. But looking at the Thomas McKinley Act with the school system and children, we have 108 families or children that are sleeping on couches of family members in Wayne County. So in our school system, it reports 108. The 108 did not get accounted. Well, actually, the 100 did not get accounted for in the statistics, and you guys did not get the vouchers. So, I'm here because I have a strong background in corrections, law enforcement, juvenile corrections, anything you can think of, I have experienced it. I have even experienced homelessness myself as a child growing up. So I know how important it is, when a child is sleeping or 4 or 5 families are sleeping in one home. So this is what we're experiencing because of the pandemic. A lot of families have moved in together. A lot of families are living off of the support they're getting from the government. But we know all of that will be exhausted very soon. And cities will be impacted by homelessness, increased crime, and increased mental health. And we have nothing to do with it. So what we have before you today is we have created a solution for the problem that you will have in the future, that we know you will have in the future. So we would like you guys' support. And like I said, Greenville is getting on board. We don't know what it will look like in Greenville. So I am following him. I'm looking at Goldsboro. We're looking at Goldsboro, not just me, myself. And we're just trying to see how it plays out over here before PJ says we can do it, or we can see something smaller over there where we're at. So thank you guys for your time, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Jack Cannon with a K. And I'm here more or less just to talk about Thomas Rice's character, the problem you've already heard about. I just know Thomas from Dewey Brothers days, 40 years ago. And I know that he was there working as a laborer, and then he ended up going to Wayne Community College. And he has since came back, and I met him back 20 years ago. And he takes on projects like this that I don't know anybody else that does it. And he does take it and help homeless, and especially veterans, homeless people. And I just work with one myself as a classmate of mine. And all they need is a little guidance, and somebody like Thomas that would guide them point A to point B to point C, and it changes their life. And so I'm just here to say, he called me and he was telling me what he's doing. I couldn't believe it, but I said, okay. I said, I want to support you anyway. And he said, how about just, letting him know that you and I know each other. And I'm with him 100% on anything he's done for the past 20 years, especially since he married Donna. But that's all I know. It's just more of his character.
Any questions, Mr. Cannon?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Oh, thank you all.
Anyone else would like to speak?
My name is David Simmons. I come before you representing the owners of the property in which the mini village is designated to be installed, SOS Management. I'm currently the president of that particular organization. I'd like to thank you guys for all that you have done up to this particular point representing that particular property. One thing that came to mind as I came before you guys is the subject matter of need versus want. The subject matter of need versus want. I wanted a cemetery, what we call faith-based cemetery there. Something very nice that people would love to basically put their family members to rest. But beyond that particular want, the authority of it all has basically led me to understand the fact that that property is for the living and not for the dead. And that's why I represent this particular project as passionately as I do. I encourage, plead, and beg upon each of you to consider this. This is a need that this community has. This particular organization, along with the alliances in which has already been joined up with him, has identified that. The state has identified that. We just need you guys to also further identify that. This area here, as you guys probably know, is a federal hub zone area. It is also a federal work zone area. What do I mean by that? It is strategically adjacent to Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. A lot of the federal contractors out there, I am one of them, basically need people that's located in that demographic area of the sort to meet their particular federal hub zone requirements of the sort. It is one of my passions to basically reach out to this particular group of people and anybody else that choose to basically be a part of the initiatives that will be going on out there, to basically train them to take on and support the workforce needs that's needed out there, Seymour Johnson Air Force Base as well as the area in general. So folks, I beg upon you, help us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Dave.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this issue? Okay, if there are no other people that want to speak, I'll close the public hearings. These items will come back before the council on July 25th. Excuse me, July 12th. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to we'll move to the public comment period. And I'd like to remind people that want to speak that we have a policy of 3 minutes per speaker. And if you will, hopefully you have seen our public comment policy, and respectfully desire that you abide by that. So go ahead, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Alicia Pierce. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here. I had saw on the agenda that you were going to be speaking about the mayoral vacancy discussion. I did also notice that Exhibit A was not in the agenda stuff online, so I don't know if it's going to be shared publicly or not, but I think it would be nice if we could have it. But I do have a couple of comments. I know a few months ago you guys talked about a staggered elections or staggered for the city council versus all of you being elected at the same time. So I personally thought at this point, if you were going to still discuss staggering, this would be the time to do it, to actually use the mayoral seat as the first level of staggering, since you're saying you want to keep continuity and you didn't want to all be voted at the same time. So why not use that seat as your first opportunity for the next election? So I know your election is 2023, but if you wanted to use the mayoral seat in 2021 or in 2022, that would be ideal. Also, I do agree with my actual councilwoman, because I'm in precinct 4, that we should at least have considered some of the other alternatives, maybe a selection committee. I do believe that there should be a voice from the community for our mayor. It's not the same as a district seat. The mayor seat is way more important, and it includes all citizens in Goldsboro and not just a particular district. So I do feel like there should have been some other consideration. And I was going to come and present some ideas, because when I come, I try to suggest, but you guys have already voted, so I guess the suggestion, but hopefully you may consider the staggering, and like I said, start with that seat. And then I also wanted to just share with you that we might want to consider why we would like the citizens to select it. And one of the reasons I think it would have been better for the citizens to have selected someone is because we don't want it to be that someone appointed would be under the same agenda as those that have the majority vote. Because we have some poor people in our city. And so we have to consider the poor people when we are voting or when we're making suggestions. As recently, water increase. We got a water increase in 2020. We already looking at a water increase discussion, and I'm glad it wasn't voted for, but we need someone in that seat that will also consider poor people. And I appreciate the time to speak on this evening.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm Evelyn Paul,
and I'm a resident of the Councilmanic District 3, and I just want to express some of my concern as I was in the work session, that it felt to me, the level of disrespect that I watched a sitting councilman display to another city councilman. I personally find that appalling as a former educator who taught my children to respect everybody. This is, to me, a very poor role model. And I also want to add my concern. My councilman is not present tonight. And it sounded to me as if the other members of our council, not all, obviously, were ready to move full steam ahead without even considering the 1/6 of the residents of this city. Does our city council represent themselves individually, or do they represent the 35,000 approximate residents of the city of Goldsboro? And I just ask, with all due respect, that you take that into consideration as we are moving forward with replacing our mayor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else? Is there anyone else that would like to speak? If not, I'll close this public comment period, and we'll move to the consent agenda.
Yes, sir. Consent agenda items E through U are presented for council approval.
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items E through U.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Ham,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember Broadway,
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews,
No.
Councilmember Aycock.
Yes.
Okay. The consent agenda is approved. We have no items requiring individual action, so I'll move to the city manager's report.
So I'd like to thank council and the staff for putting together and adopting the FY22 budget. Also, the consent agenda items for FY21. There were a lot of amendments there, and I appreciate the staff's work and council's review in improving those items. Now we'll be able to publish the FY22 adopted budget, close out FY21, and start to do the audit for the FY20. That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Okay. We'll move to mayor and council members' comments. I'll start with you, Mr. Aycock.
No comment.
Ms. Matthews.
No comment.
Ms. Jones.
Well, I would like to thank the city manager and Rick for listening to me 2 sessions ago and cleaning up the debris on Isla Street and Popular Street. I want to thank you very much. My CCA did write a letter, and thank you for communicating with her and doing those items for us. Thank you.
I'll just say that I once again want to express our appreciation. I speak for the council as a whole on the work that our finance director, her staff, as well as all the city staff put into the development of the budget. There was a lot of time and effort put into it, a lot of discussion about line items and so forth. But we did pass a budget on Friday afternoon, and they are to be commended for their work. That's all I have. If there's no further business, I'll adjourn. Meeting is adjourned.